All right, here we are today. I'm here with wonderful Tiara, who actually we just did a local CrossFit event here in Las Vegas. It was a team event. I think that went well. A big part of doing these CrossFit events, even on a local level, I feel that it's all about accountability. And when you sign up for something like that, it helps hold you accountable to probably get better sleep, make sure you don't miss days in the gym, make sure you eat the right thing. And it's not so much about the result on the day of the event. These events are supposed to be competitive, but they're also supposed to be to have a good time and to better yourself and better your life. And I think it's a great way to hold you accountable to all the other things outside of just what you do in the gym, even if it helps you be accountable to not missing gym days. Now, there's other things that can even go deeper into that, where it helps people be accountable to things such as sobriety, which I've definitely had a lot of struggles with that in my life. I'm very fortunate to this point in time to be able to have a little over 9 years of sobriety, which is still one day at a time. And I also know that part of the reason why, and maybe you could just tell us that did you get into the sport of CrossFit? Did you get into working out in order to help you achieve sobriety? And what did that struggle look like, and that journey towards sobriety look like for you?
Yeah, no, I definitely used exercise, health, nutrition as an outlet to achieve my sobriety. I grew up playing a bunch of sports, so like athletic background, definitely kept me stable in the beginning of my life. And one of the things that left my life completely when I was in my addiction was definitely that. So I knew if I could get myself involved in any type of exercise, I could, start to build some other healthy habits. So I definitely started with bodybuilding. I didn't jump right into CrossFit at first.
What did this journey look like a little bit? Like what sports did you play when you were younger?
So I played pretty much every sport. My favorite sports were hockey, basketball, and football. There wasn't much to go for football and hockey as a female at that age because I grew up in like the 90s. So I ended up playing basketball. I played basketball all through high school, and I actually went to college and played basketball in college for 2 years.
And where was this?
Utah.
In Utah.
Carl's favorite spot.
Not my favorite spot. So college basketball, this is probably what, 2002-ish?
Graduated in 2004, so it was like 2005, 2006.
Okay. So college basketball, and then where did this journey go off the rails a little bit, for a lack of a better?
So I was always kind of just hanging on by a shoestring, to say the least. I was born and raised in Vegas, started like partying in my early, freshman, sophomore year of high school. My parents didn't really know what to do with that, so they moved me to Utah, hoping that I would make some changes, kind of put me in a better environment. Sports back then were a lot more serious up in Utah than they were here. So I got into like a good school there that would help me to get like recruited out of high school. But like I said, I was always kind of just hanging on by a shoestring. Like I was okay with breaking rules, which, I was even like going drunk to school in Utah.
And this is like what, 2005?
I graduated in 2004, so this was like 2003, 2004, yeah.
Okay, so 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning? You would say that was the beginning of the slide?
Oh, yeah. And I definitely like kind of managed my addiction and living a pro-social life, I guess, to say the least, for a couple years after that, until I just completely landslided.
Well, that's because these things don't start out at the darkest point. I think there's always a progression, for the most part. Usually the case is there's a progression downward, like a downward trajectory.
Yeah.
So now we're like 05, 06, you finished up school, and then what happens when you finish up school?
High school.
Well,
or college. So I never really, like, I made it through. So I signed to go to a college called Snow College. It's in like this super small town in Utah called Ephraim. And I didn't even make it through a semester there. I was like, this small town, I can't do this. I actually had an ankle injury and had to have surgery. In return, of course, I was given, narcotics that were, So when I went home for the surgery, and then I just never went back to school at that point.
So home was back to Vegas.
Actually, my parents were still living in Utah, so it was Pleasant Grove, Utah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what happens from there?
So after that, I ended up trying to get a job. I went back to school at UVU, not for basketball, just for education. That was once I kind of got out of my ankle injury, I didn't really, even though I was given those painkillers, I didn't really just fall off the rail. Again, like we were saying, it's kind of like a slide. So I tried to get back into school, back into sports. I started playing basketball again once I was cleared from the doctor to be able to play basketball. Was playing a lot of pickup ball and trying to do some weightlifting to build my hamstrings and legs stronger so I could avoid any ankle injury. And I ended up running into some friends of mine that were getting ready to go play at Dixie State College, which is in St. George. They were turning Division II, and the basketball program was transforming, and they were kind of looking for my friend was like, I'm going to hook you up with the coach, trying to get you in, all that kind of stuff. So I ended up getting in down there on a smaller scholarship. It wasn't a full ride, so a little bit smaller scholarship. And I went there, and I actually had a really good season. I got in a pretty good shape over the time once I knew I was going there. I had a super good season, but I was drinking with my coaches every chance I got. So, and I was young then, so it was different. You could kind of recover. You could drink till 2 a.m. and show up at 7 o'clock practice and still,
And this was approximately what, 25-ish, 24 you're at this time?
Yeah, I was probably 20. No, I was probably closer to 22. I was pretty young, 21, 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a very similar story. I mean, this was I have a little bit of a similar story. I was in and out of 12 different schools too. So I think addiction can take you down that path. So I don't think that there's anything that you need to feel bad about. It's in the past. There's nothing that you can do. There's nothing that you can't go back in time and make better decisions, right? The only thing you can do is make better decisions now going forward. So I don't think that's anything I feel that you seem to feel bad about that you were in and out of schools and have that struggle. I mean, I think about regrets from the past too, so you're not alone on that, but I don't think that's anything you need to feel bad about.
I definitely don't feel bad about it. I don't know if I'm giving off that type of that demeanor, but I definitely don't feel bad. It's been a long time since I talked about this, so this
just seems like something. All right, maybe you're not proud of that, which is okay. I'm not proud of choices that I made too.
That's a good way to put it. I'm definitely not proud, but I am in the sense that all those things that happened made me who I am today, and I'm definitely proud of who I am today. If that makes sense.
You're doing a lot. I'm trying to. I'm trying to work towards that and go through a little bit of the background as much as you might be comfortable with. Again, so here we are. It's approximately you're 22, 23. You're drinking with coaches. This kind of thing happens a lot because for whatever reason, it seems as if drinking and alcohol is very socially acceptable in this country, and it's almost like even nowadays, like I said, luckily I'm 9 years sober, and it still seems like I'm the weirdo because I don't want to go out and drink this weekend. I'm not interested in going to the bar. I don't care about your cocktail party, So the drinking is very socially acceptable, and the drinking led me down a dark path. I got DWI or whatever you want to call it. This is 2003. I've crashed cars, I've wound up in jail because the gateway was the drinking. It led me down a dark path, and it seems that okay, you're out now and you're drinking with coaches, and they almost made that acceptable.
Yeah.
Like they were kind of the adult in the room at that point in time that probably should not have encouraged that behavior.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then from that point, I don't want to assume anything, but I'm guessing that, okay, there's painkillers, there's drinking. Now it's heading down a worse path. So what happens when you don't have school and you don't have basketball to fall back on?
Yeah, so I finished off that season, but I did not even finish off the next semester of school. So it escalated pretty quickly from there. I moved back up to northern Utah. So I was in southern Utah, moved back up to northern Utah and got involved in starting to sell alarms, home security, like door to door, which is a pretty lucrative business.
Okay. Is that like ADT or whatever?
Yeah, it's like ADT, and I was working for a company called, at the time it was Apex, but now it's Vivint, so it's like pretty big. They do solar and all that kind of stuff, but and then so part of that process is like recruiting. If I could get people to sell underneath me, it would, make my paycheck a little bit better. So met some guy friends. One of the guy friends had a pretty substantial prescription to painkillers. So started using those more heavily. I was at this point, like I knew I wasn't going back to basketball. So like any type of exercise, anything like that had gone
out the window.
Out the window, exactly. But I was kind of happy because I was like, oh, I'm making good money. So it's like, who cares? Like that's what I'm supposed to do at this point in my life, Right. Anyways, so started taking those painkillers with him. He didn't want to ever take all of them, so he was giving me some and his brother some. Still drinking. Marijuana comes in the picture too, of course. So just a little bit of everything. Did the summer sales thing, and that was like, we basically would go and sell alarms and then usually start drinking on like Thursday or Friday. Definitely on Thursday, but then Saturdays were like a big selling day. So it was like, you weren't going all in yet, but just surviving. Again, young, so recovery isn't that bad. Then, you can kind of make it work. And then I had the money to be able to like
support your habit.
Support my habit. Some of the guys I was working with were a little bit older. One of them was an addict at some point. He still and he wasn't clean and sober, so he introduced me to cocaine.
So as you can see, it's all with addiction. It's your story is similar to mine, which is similar to most. You're not all in from the jump. It's just a slow progression.
Yeah. Down
this path. So now, it starts with the drinking. Now we're at drinking. We got pills. We got smoking weed, and now we're moving on to cocaine.
Yep.
And I'm gonna guess that this is not going to have a happy ending. I'm going to guess.
Yeah, no happy ending.
When you're in it and you're living that, though, that's not your mindset.
Right.
That's not your mindset. Where does the cocaine path take you?
So definitely was like, oh, this is fun. I could do this. Did it more than I should have, but I was still scared, I guess you could kind of say, where like I wasn't just going to go, like I just wasn't going to start snorting cocaine every day. Like I still was, I was content with what I was doing career-wise, making money, things like that. It was super secretive. So it wasn't like, I had a girlfriend at the time, definitely wasn't telling her I was doing that. So it was easy for me to kind of like not just fall down that path right away, but the experimentation was there. So of course that opens up a bunch of other doors, especially when you start getting around other people that it is sociable, like they're going to do it too, So that ended that summer. That was like the only hard drugs I tried at that point. Had a really good summer selling, went back home, which was Utah. Still continuing to drink, smoke, take painkillers. Didn't really do any type of cocaine anymore at that point for the next few months, just because I really didn't even know where to get it in Utah, and I definitely wasn't gonna
seek it out.
Yeah, seek it out.
All right.
So, But Vegas, of course, it's a little bit different story. And then I also so I was coming back to Vegas here and there. Did it a couple of times back in Vegas because, of course, it's totally different ball game down here. And then a lot of my friends that I would have graduated high school with, that I grew up with, were doing their own, path of destruction at the time too. So it was easy to find it at that point.
Okay, so then I'm sure that there's another incident that led up to you wanting to make a change. And there was a lot of incidents that happened to me where I wanted to make a change, and I tried to make a change 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and it didn't really work out. I'm not proud of it, but it is what it is, and it happened. But from the years of, let's say, between 1997 and 2006, 2007, I was arrested at least 18 times that I can probably think of. And that still did not lead me to the ultimate change. There was definitely a long time period where I wasn't doing the right thing. I knew I wasn't doing the right thing, but I couldn't figure out how to do the right thing. Is there any incident or incidents that you can think of that happened to you or that you've been through that made you really want to rethink what it is that you're doing?
Yeah, so I definitely, after that first summer of alarms, it just was like a bad slide at that point. I ended up, same thing, in jail several different times, which in return eventually landed me into prison. I didn't go to prison right away. I ended up getting arrested in Texas.
So how did you end up in Texas?
So my first summer selling alarms was in Texas. I had a really good summer there. So the following summer, I was asked to go be a manager back there in the same region to manage a sales office.
So let me just stop you. The short version, if this is a short version, and correct me where I'm wrong, selling the alarms, it can be somewhat of a seasonal thing.
Yes.
You went to Texas. Where in Texas?
It was Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm sure everybody knows that area. You went there summer of what?
This would have been summer of, it's 22 or 23. 22 or 23.
You mean 03 or 04?
Or sorry, 03 or 04, yeah.
03, 04, okay.
No. Probably 07 or 08.
07,
yeah.
08. And then you had a good summer. You did well because, through addiction, you can be highly functionable, at least for a while.
Yeah.
Until you lose control. And then, so you asked back to go to another summer, and what lands you in jail?
So I ended up going back for the next summer, and I was sent out there to kind of start the office. So I was sent out actually like about 60 days before everybody else showed up. And I had made some friends there before who I had met to get the cocaine from when I was there the first summer. And when they knew I was coming back, they're like, oh, let's hang out. Let's do, this, that, and the other. So they took me to a strip club, and I ended up meeting a stripper, and the rest is history. I basically started dating her, and I didn't even make it to the summer to like manage the office. Basically, I actually started doing some other extracurricular activities that were funding me through meeting those same people. So,
was this extracurricular in the adult industry, or is this extracurricular? What do you mean by extracurricular?
Moving some pounds of marijuana, for just being straightforward. Yeah.
Okay, and this is in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, during this time period, this is a felony.
Oh yeah, major, yeah. Actually,
But when you're in the throes of addiction, committing a felony is not something that you think about. That's not
No. Oh
on the
yeah.
top of your mind.
No.
Top of your mind is, how am I going to get through today, and how am I going to feed this addiction today? So this is how you're feeding that addiction at this particular point in time.
Yes.
And I'm only I don't want to speculate, but I'll let you finish how this leads to an arrest and an eventual stint in jail.
Yeah, so that was just kind of what started that. I didn't actually end up going to jail specifically for that. Some of the deals went bad, and that put me out. So, and here I am, now owe people money, now have addiction, and with a stripper who has an addiction as well. Mm-hmm. So, we were doing other things that were illegal to be able to get money, which eventually put me in jail, which eventually put me on probation. And I would go in jail, sign to get out for probation. Then I'm on probation. I even picked up other charges while I was on probation. So essentially I was sentenced to, instead of just going straight to prison in Texas, they have a lot of other things because a lot of other opportunities, I guess you could say, to try and stay away from going to prison. Mm-hmm. So I was sent to a drug rehab for 6 months. And then that drug rehab also had like an aftercare program that lasted about another 6 to 9 months.
And how was that working at that time?
That
was okay at that time?
For me?
Yeah.
Personally?
Or were you just going through the motions at this point in time?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was young. I could even say, like, scared of going to prison, which sounds, crazy because why am I doing any of what I'm doing? But again, when you're in addiction, you're not thinking about any of that. And it also sounded like it was going to be a better way than versus going to prison because mm-hmm. at this drug rehab, you could have clothes sent in. The food was better. It wasn't like you were in a lockdown facility. It was, you're going to classes every day. Mm-hmm. Like you had normal bedding. It was a lot more normal than actually going straight into prison. So went to that, and every bit of me was like, okay, you can do this. You can make a change. But I really didn't want to change, I guess you could say, if mm-hmm. that, for lack of better words, like,
because as you've already told us, shortly after this, you ended up in prison in Texas.
Yeah.
So ultimately, what were the charges that landed you in prison?
I had drug charges. I had theft charges, like credit card charges. Yeah, so
it's some type of credit card fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Drug just a regular drug possession. So this is drugs with intent.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is drugs with intent.
Yep.
And violation of probation.
Yeah, violation of probation. Yeah.
And this lands you in state prison in Texas, correct?
Yeah, so,
for how, obviously, all right, they gave you a couple chances, you went to rehab, that didn't necessarily work out, so.
Yeah, I actually went to that rehab, and then when I got out, I lasted maybe 6 months, probably less than that, to be honest.
But a lot of times 6 months is... I've been to rehab and I didn't last 6 days.
Yeah.
So that's not uncommon.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I went back. This time I went to another rehab. It was on prison, actually on prison grounds. So it was a little bit more serious. Yeah, a little bit more serious. Exactly. And then when I got out of that one, I lasted even less amount of time. So
that's because addiction is disease, and at that point in time this had a hold on you. It had a total grip on you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You're not thinking, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not thinking rationally, you're not thinking clearly, you're not making well thought out decisions about much.
there's no well thought out decisions being made. You become super hopeless, especially like at that age, because like for lack of better words, you're just a loser. Like you have nothing going for you. There's no like way of even thinking you're going to have anything going for you because you're so far behind in life at this point. I had no car, no money, no career, like if anything, I owed money, and and then just didn't know any difference. And then I was going into these facilities where the only people I was meeting were the same people that were like me. So it was like,
so it's just more of the same.
Yeah.
So when they finally sentenced you, they sentenced you to state prison in Texas. Mm-hmm. For what was your sentence?
So I ended up doing, when I went back, I ended up doing my first long stint. Mind you, I did all these other times. My first long stint, I did about 15 months total.
But most of there's a difference between being sentenced to rehab or being in an inpatient facility than when they send you to state prison in Texas. There's a difference.
Oh, yeah.
And then 15 months that you must have had longer on paper, though. Like, the sentence must have been like 3.
Yeah, so I had a 3 to 5 year sentence. I did 15 months. I was able to meet parole right away. I got out, and I got out in Texas, which, mind you, I have no family, no nothing. The stripper girlfriends, obviously, like, that's completely history at that point. And I ended up going on the run because I just couldn't do it. I did not want to be in Texas on probation with no family, with nobody.
You went on the run from prior charges, no
new charges,
not future charges.
Prior no new charges, no nothing. I went on the run on parole. I came back to Vegas and tried to start doing the right thing, which is crazy because I'm on the run.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That didn't last very long. And ended up picking up drug charges in Vegas.
These possession charges?
Selling.
So possession with intent.
Possession with intent. So ended up picking up those charges here, and got sentenced to prison here. So I went and did my luckily it was just a small.
How are you continuously getting these charges though? Possession with intent. Like what is going wrong?
For me?
Yeah.
I mean, I was just an addict. That's like, I really didn't have any type of like sense at all.
Are these like by busts?
Yeah. So I only have 2. So so I had in Texas. Here it was I sold to undercovers.
Here in Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, yeah.
And how'd they trick you?
So they were watching my friend who I grew up with. Someone had set him up, so I just kind of got stuck, like pushed into the mix of a whole nother ring of situation that was going on.
And what were the drugs at this point in time?
Now I had moved on to meth.
Okay, so somebody got busted selling meth somewhere along the line, and now you just got caught up in that ring.
In that ring, yeah, exactly, yeah.
And so now there's a buy bus situation with, methamphetamine. I'm sure in the state of Nevada that's probably a felony.
Oh yeah.
So now you have a felony. So now you have a felony on top of incomplete.
Yeah, I'm on parole, so I'm on the run. So
paper from
Texas. I'm wanted in Texas. Yeah.
So now this is going to be the second term.
Yeah.
Where does this happen in the state of Nevada, or do you have to go finish it up in Texas?
So both. So I went to Nevada. It was only like a 12 to 15 month sentence that they gave me, mainly because I had charges in Texas. So it was like they knew I was going to have to go back and answer.
Finish and serve that out.
Yeah. So it was like, so they just gave me pretty much the minimum, but 12 to 15 month sentence, but like 2 years. So I had to finish off my parole for Nevada as well. So did my time here in Nevada. Texas picked me up. took me back down. Luckily with Texas, they ran everything concurrent since I had already done like a year in Nevada. They just took that time and released me again. It took them like 3 to 5 months to kick me back out once I got down there because the system's a lot slower there than it is here. And thankfully with that, since I had a charge in Nevada, I was able to come back to Nevada to do my parole. So that was kind of the big problem why I kept running into the problems. I mean, in Texas is because I could never get my probation transferred to Nevada. They would never just release me. It was like Texas has to release me, Nevada has to accept me, and I could never stay sober.
It's, a lot of bureaucratic paperwork. But overall, how was your experience day to day in prison, and what were you doing? We'll skip the first time. Let's go to the second time. You're in Nevada. What is a day in the life like? So
I realized real quick in prison in Texas, like, one, I'm I don't know what you want to politically correct like label me as, but you're in there with all girls. I'm a more masculine female in that environment. Okay. So like it was really easy for me to get mixed up in a lot of bullshit, to say the least, because relationships, it's, girls, all that kind of stuff. So I realized real quick, like, hey, that's not the course I want to take. So I just started exercising, like anything I could do with my body. There's no like access to gyms, no access to weights, of course, like you didn't have any of that. Like you had a basketball court usually, which that served me well because I played basketball, so I could go shoot hoops, but like there's no one that could challenge me. So like that's only going to go so far to go around and shoot around every day. So I knew I needed to do a little bit more. So I started doing these body weight exercises. I had this book sent into me every time I would go, and I would follow it. And it was like a course of body weight exercises, and it had like beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So I would just go through the beginner until I got strong enough to go to the intermediate, strong enough to go to the advanced. And I would just go through it that way. And that's how I spent most of my time, which then like...
This is Nevada now. This is what we're doing in Nevada now.
In Texas, yeah. And I did it in Texas as well when I was there the first time. Not after the rehab.
So you went the first time. Okay, so the first time you're in prison in Texas, you tried to take a path towards
exercise, nutrition. Yeah.
Were you doing this alone? Did you have a group of girls with you?
No, all alone. Yeah, definitely alone.
So this is alone?
Yeah.
And what was it, I was kind of getting ahead to the second time. What was a typical day then? You're getting up at what time?
So I would get up.
There's a count in the morning.
Yeah, count in the morning. There's like breakfast early in the morning. I usually wouldn't eat any of the breakfast or anything. I was lucky enough to be able to like buy the food that I wanted. So.
And how were you able to afford that?
My parents supported me.
So they helped you out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would usually skip that. I'd usually wake up around like 7, 8, drink some coffee, have some oatmeal, and would start a workout session. So I would work out until about lunchtime. I would try and jump in the shower before lunchtime. From lunch until like early evening, I would read, trying to stay out of like the day room and all that, because usually that's when like everybody's awake. And then I would always do another afternoon workout session after dinner.
What kind of things were you reading at this time?
Really anything. Like I would get a lot of books sent in. I did a lot of oh my gosh, what's his name? James. Shoot, that's sad. I can't even remember. What is his name? That's sad. It's like a mystery. I want to get on my phone and look it up.
Fiction.
Yeah,
mystery.
some fiction stuff. Yeah, I would read. I mean, I would do different like biographies on different athletes. Were you working within the prison at this point in time? Did you have a specific job that you were going to? Yeah, so I would always try and do any type of like laborious job. So I'd always do like I'd work on the yard.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked on the yard. I was able to even get out of the prison and work on the state parks that were around the prison.
Okay, because they trusted you after a certain period of time.
Yeah, it was called the warden squad.
Is it fair to say that okay, you're in prison here in Texas, but in a way, maybe this is providing a little bit of a positive experience for you because you have to be up at a certain time. You're having breakfast at the same time. You're doing your workout at the same time. Now it's shower, then it's lunch, then it's study time, more or less, right?
Right.
Then it's workout time. Then it's dinner time. And then it's lights out.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is pretty much the schedule 7 days a week. A very regimented schedule.
Yeah.
And at this point in time, you're in prison, but I don't want to speak for you, but you're sober.
Yes.
And now time goes on. I mean, how much? You said you were down for 15 months. Mm-hmm. So, again, I'm only guessing just from my own experience, but by month 6, month 7, month 8, you're in a routine. You're over that initial shock of what it is, and this is life now. But it's not so bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't so bad. There was some positive things coming out of it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely started like having that touch of like hope again. Like, oh, I can have the discipline to do this. Like started feeling better about myself. Being able to get up and do that every day, especially in the environment and that there's a lot of. Nobody's doing that there. There's very few, especially in women's prison. I know men's prison's a little bit different. Women, they're not doing that. Like everyone's just eating, it's just so it was good. It was that built a lot of discipline to be, one of the few that was not partaking in all that kind of stuff there.
So how is it that you came out and had this regimented? Was it that the fact that you came out from Texas and then didn't have any plan or regimented structure that led you down a dark path really quickly that got you back into prison?
Yeah, that definitely had to do with it.
Why didn't you jump out of prison and get involved? Well, this is a different time period, but just for example, if you got involved in something like, let's say, at CrossFit in that particular point in time, that might have stopped the second sentence. Yeah. Is that fair?
Yeah. I definitely even though I had created all those good habits, I guess I didn't really think of how am I going to take these good habits and do them when I'm outside of these walls. You know what I mean? Like I kind of...
So you went back to what you were used to, which wasn't the right thing.
Yeah.
And it put you right back in the same place.
Yes.
And that's no slight at you. I mean, it's a common thing. I mean, what people don't realize is most things with addiction is a lot of people go to rehab about 5 to 7 times before they end up with any attainable sobriety. And this just happened to be your path. So now here you are. Now you're in Nevada State Prison. Whereabouts in Nevada?
It's North Las Vegas, the prison is.
So you're in North Las Vegas. So you're a little bit closer to family. I don't know if that helped you out at that particular time or not. So then you're in North Las Vegas, prison in Nevada. What becomes your routine here?
So basically just picked up right back where I left off. The cool thing with the Nevada prison is they're a little bit more rigid with their schedule. So Texas is a little bit more leniency. Like you have the their lights out and stuff is like midnight. Nevada, like you're locked in your cell by 8:15, I think, is when the first call is, and then 8:30 doors are locked and you're done.
So you're not in dorm style. You're not in a camp. You're in cells. So you had one person in there with you? Yeah.
So I had at first they had it was within their dorms they had like cells with like 10 people, cells with 2 people. So it was really weird. It's kind of mixed up. So I started off with more people, ended up in a cell with just one other person. I ended up actually in lockdown. So it wasn't like solitary confinement or anything like that. They had a really weird like place where they sent people that were like not as bad to be in solitary, but bad enough to not be in general population, if that makes sense. So ended up there, which really, I feel like that really like is what eventually pushed me into being able to make a positive change. I was literally locked down for like 23 hours a day. I got 1 hour out. We had like 2 hours out. And I would utilize the like the day room to be able to do different exercises that I couldn't do inside of my cell at that point. Because again, I'm back to working out, eating right, all these things. I actually met my partner. She was in the same lockdown facility. We ended up, talking.
Will she have similar charges or different charges?
Different charges, yeah.
Okay.
Different charges.
Your charges are mostly drug charges.
Yeah. And theft and like identity and all that kind of stuff.
All that goes
card.
with drug charges.
Yeah.
It's all
one thing.
Okay.
Yeah. She had actually been there. She was like going on her 7th year and she had a 10-year sentence. So she's, yeah.
I don't want you to speak for her.
No.
We can get her at another.
So.
But that's a very serious charge, especially in the state.
Yeah.
Because the state, what did you have on paper in Nevada and Texas? 5 years?
5 years in Texas, and there's like a 2-year sentence in Nevada. Yeah.
So you had 7 years on paper, and how much time did you do all together when you added it all up? I mean, not out.
I ended up doing about 3.5 years total.
So 3.5, and then they let you do the other 3.5
out. Yeah.
Okay. So 7. If you're there for 7, that's a very serious charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this must be someone at that point in time that was also trying to change their life for the better.
Yeah. Yeah. So she was super into exercising too. Into the healthy ways, outside of just the exercising, like what she's putting in her body, everything like that. So yeah, we just started talking, and literally it was like that, that it was a really good motivation for me to have someone that I could relate to on a lot of different levels. And she made me want to be a better person. And I really hadn't found anybody like that in so many years, like outside of my parents, stuff like that. But, in a relationship sense, of course, that wasn't there, so I was only going to be there for a short period of time, and she still had 3 years left on her sentence. So
okay,
yeah. So I went back to Texas, and
this is when you got out. Or no, you went back to Texas to finish out your sentence.
Yeah. So they picked me up from Nevada.
Okay.
I went back to Texas, did my little turnaround in Texas, and because I had to be on paper in Nevada, I was able to come back to Nevada. Even though I still had to get my probation or parole transferred from Texas, they couldn't tell me to stay there because I had parole in Nevada. So I had to come to Nevada, so I kind of worked it. So I was able to come back to Nevada. My parents had helped me out a lot. So they were pretty burnt out on, they still were helping me, but it was at an arm's length. So they didn't want me at their house, but my aunt was willing to let me sleep in their extra room here in Nevada. And, I was talking to my partner every day. Once I was able to use a phone, I was able to talk to her every day, which helped keep me kind of grounded because I didn't want to let another person down in my life at this point. Like, I just did not want to do that. And I knew if I could keep my word to her, I'd also be able to start to establish these relationships I destroyed all around me. And so I just got home, and I just didn't look back. Like, I was getting on the bus at 4:30 in the morning. I was waking up, like, even if I ended up buying like a cheap bench set and some weights and put it in my aunt's room because the room I was staying in was pretty big, and they just had a couch, and I was like, I'm not spending the money on bed. I've slept on worse. I don't care. I'm buying this bench so I can at least get a workout in before I try and go get a job. So I was working out as early as I needed to. I'd go and get on the bus, and I was trying to do Teamsters.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was trying to do like the trade shows. So I was just, and the only way to like get in that is by showing up and hoping they need people to work. And so I was doing that. And anytime they'd ask me to work, I would just make sure I was the fucking hardest worker out there, so they would want me back. So I was able to like kind of be sustainable, but it just wasn't enough. And I was like, and I started to feel overwhelmed. I'm like, I have to do something else to start making money because I don't know when this is going to work out. And and I just wasn't sure. So I started flipping storage units, like Storage Wars, because I was like, I was like, I could sell stuff. Like I'm super good at selling things, and I'm like, and I can work hard. I mean, a lot of that is literally digging out those storage units and finding the good stuff.
Finding the good stuff?
Yeah.
Where were you selling it, on eBay?
No, I was doing like OfferUp and just Marketplace, like just,
Okay.
And
How long did you do that for?
I did that for about 12 months.
Okay.
And it saved me. I mean, like, because there wasn't, like, you only have 3 days to get out of these units to get them back to your units. So it's like, you really can't, there's no, like, you can't stop. Like, you're kind of just on a straight grind. So, and I was able to make my own schedule, so I was able to work out, whether it be whatever time of day, like, I was able to fit that in at some point. So that kind of helps keep me grounded. And my mom was, like, literally driving me around, because we have a truck and a trailer. So she was like, she would drop off the trailer for me to, like, load it up, because I didn't have my license at this point, so I would load up the trailer, she'd pick me up at night, I would take it back, unload it, then spend the next couple days, like, going through the stuff, selling whatever I could, and it was super, like I said, it literally saved me, but again, like, I couldn't see myself doing that for the rest of my life, like, that's not going to happen. So
what was the next step after that?
Yeah, so I was working out at a Planet Fitness in Silverado Ranch area, and I was super consistent. I was there all the time, and a lot of times I'd end up going in with my mom.
Okay.
And the general manager there was the current personal trainer was getting ready to leave. And he was like, you should apply for the job. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I was like, I don't have any certificates. He's like, it's really, you can, if you can try, you can get a certificate. And the general manager's really cool. Even if you don't have it yet, she can kind of like wait, she can still hire you, and you can wait, or you can get it while you're here. So yeah, that's basically how it happened. Like, I applied, I went for my interview, and I think just because she had, like, I had even been in there for like because when I first came here, while they were figuring out my transfer of papers, like, I had to be on an ankle monitor. So I was like going in the gym with the ankle monitor, like, didn't care. So that's
not unusual.
No, but she was very open-minded and, like, wanted to see people change their lives, which, I'm always super grateful for that, because she gave me a really good opportunity. So I started being the personal trainer there and running their classes at Planet Fitness.
And how long did you do that for?
I did that until COVID.
And then 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was there for I think I was almost there like a full year before COVID happened. And then it shut down. I went back after COVID. And then with the intent of, I was going to stay there, but then my brother passed away. And so, and then I took over his business when he passed away.
Which is?
I own and operate a commercial janitorial company.
How do you like doing that?
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's been like one of the best things ever. It's super lucrative, but it's like right down my alley where I can work hard enough, and as I continue to work hard enough, like, I can be further and further away from the day-to-day operations. So I can do other things, pursue other stuff. I'm not doing the 9-to-5 thing. Like, that's not me, or even like something that's telling me I have to be here at this time. I like to do things like, and I don't want to sound like selfish or irresponsible, but on my terms, I feel like I'm capable of doing that. So this, I have really good managers. I've had really good managers for the last 4 years, and that makes it possible for me to grow the business and not have to be part of the day-to-day operations. Okay.
Which is, you're on a much different path. Do you miss the personal training aspect that you were doing? And what was your introduction into the CrossFit methodology? So
when I was in Texas, my aunt, I I had it was my dad's cousin actually, but I call her my aunt because she helped me so much out in my life that she introduced me into CrossFit. She was like, you should do CrossFit. It'd be really good for you. You'd be really good at it. And so she introduced it to me, but I was never like, even just financial wise, when I would get out, I'm like, yeah, I can't even get involved in that yet. That's not happening, So that was like my first introduction to it. Then when I got out and even when I was at Planet Fitness, I just was like super interested in CrossFit. I wasn't introduced fully to like the methodology, and I'm still learning it full circle until literally here recently. It's been probably in the last like 3 years, right before my brother passed away. He had watched that Joe Rogan and Matt Frazier podcast.
Some people like that, some people don't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's controversial, but he was like, you need to do that CrossFit shit. Like he was like, you got it. So he was like, you need to buy this Rogue equipment. You need to go into a CrossFit gym. You need to figure this out. But of course I was like, yeah, you're crazy. Like I was exercising, so I was pretty I was more bodybuilding, but I didn't like bodybuilding was fun, but I like to sweat. Like I like to sweat.
The intensity is different.
Totally different. Yeah.
Do you feel that being involved in this and being involved in that methodology is helping you with your sobriety?
Oh yeah, it's completely changed my life. Like I'm just not the type of person that is like just going to put their hand in something. I'm super extreme, and I feel like
but that's I don't mean to stop you, but that's what addiction is. Addiction is not addiction. Everybody tunes everything up to 11.
Yeah.
There's no like halfway in it.
Right.
So you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, big time. So CrossFit definitely like that fulfills that itch in my life. Like and it's so humbling because it's like you're never going to be that good. Like
so the methodology is helping you. It's helping you stay sober. It's probably providing accountability.
Yeah. Oh right? Yeah.
Because you have to recover your body.
Yeah.
You can't just do whatever you feel like all the time. It probably keeps you a little bit accountable to get good rest.
Yeah.
Eat better.
Big time, yeah. So just to go back, my brother passed away, and that's when I got into CrossFit all the way. Because of that, what you're saying, because my brother passed, and the next morning I'm drinking. Like, that's just what it was. Like, it was...
Because that's addiction.
Yeah, that's so it was like I really didn't know what.
But you knew that was not the right choice.
Yeah, I knew
so
it.
You
like
chose something better.
Yeah, so I did.
What's better, drinking or CrossFit?
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't even mean jumping into CrossFit to do competitions or anything like that, but just doing the methodology, the exercise, the eating, the sleeping.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Like
It's better than drinking.
Yeah, I drank the day after my brother passed away. That morning, I was drinking. I was like, "Fuck, this is not what you can be doing." So it still took me some time. I'm not going to say the next day I was, away from it. I would work out during the week, and I would drink on the weekend enough to.
It's a common thing.
Yeah. Enough to, but I was drinking.
It'd be okay to make it there on Monday.
Yeah, 100%, and then.
But then a little time probably went by, and you knew that you're not doing the right thing, and but you were now progressing down the right path as opposed to years before where you were progressing down the wrong path.
Yeah. So it didn't take too long. It was like literally, pretty short, not short, but shorter than what it would have been, years before. And hard work pays off had just come out with I was still intimidated, I guess you could say, to like go into a CrossFit gym. I also was like, financial wise, I wasn't sure if I could pull that off. So, the cheapest way to go was to just sign up for that app and that programming. Okay. And because I had the home gym equipment, and kept me accountable. Like, I knew I was able to wake up, I had to check these things off in this programming that I was going to do. And like, there's no way Saturday came along, even though I wouldn't train on Sunday because of the intensity and what the program.
You're recovering on Sunday.
Yeah. There's no.
While you're recovering from working out now, you're not recovering from other poor choices. So
exactly.
Totally two different types of recovery.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel that, there's definitely people that helped you out, along the way? Do you feel that if people are struggling with addiction, that, reaching out to us or heading towards the CrossFit methodology would be something positive?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I definitely think that outside of what it gives you physically and mentally, it really provides like a safe place. The community is outstanding. I believe that they're, it's just, I don't know the best way to explain it, but it's like, there's nothing like it. There's really nothing like it. The community, doesn't matter where you go, where it is. I always drop into gyms when I travel, and it's just like, I never forget that gym. I never forget that coach. I never forget the people I meet there, and, not everybody's capable of having that impression on you. But it definitely stands true when it comes to the CrossFit community. And then the methodology, and granted, not everyone's extreme as us, and you don't have to be to. You
don't have to be hardcore in the methodology to get a positive result and a positive experience out of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And I mean, it's also that addiction actually led towards the creation of our business, which we are in the CBD business and the health and wellness business. And a lot of that brings me back to what you said, earlier when you were dealing with pain and pain management and basketball injuries, and they're quick to prescribe you a bunch of painkillers and a bunch of opiates, and that not necessarily was probably the best thing or all that helpful. That didn't set you up. That didn't really set you up for success at that point in time, which is why we've gone through all the trouble to create what we're doing here, which is all in 100% organic and natural way of healing, and a non-addictive and a non-psychoactive product that is actually really beneficial to you. A lot of people don't know this, but there is an endocannabinoid system in your body, in my body, in your body, in every mammal, and the body is made to receive these products in order to help you heal. The body is not made to receive, whatever it is that they were prescribing you 15 or 20 years ago, that again, I don't believe that they set you up for success. So, I mean, pain management, health, wellness, and recovery is, it's really important. And how do you feel about, how do you feel about, at this point in time in your recovery, about, prescription medication, and where are you at with that?
Yeah, no, I definitely, even like Advil, ibuprofen, Tylenol, like that's a last ditch effort for me. I'm gonna use CBD products before I even want to touch any of those. That's, and not that those are habit forming, but the same, like the chemicals, like I'd rather use something natural versus something that's chemically made, if that makes sense. Definitely no, like if I were to have any type of surgeries or do anything like that now, I wouldn't take any type of painkillers. There's no way.
There's no way.
Yeah, no way. Yeah.
So, and other things too, just to try and, wrap this up here a little bit, is I think your story and you sharing this experience does help others, because I think, as you know and as I know, that when you're really in that dark place, you do feel like you got nowhere to go and you got nowhere to turn, and you do feel that you're stuck, and there is no way.
Yeah, no hope,
but
no light.
It can be done. Just as easily. You made choices to head down the wrong path. If you start making choices to head down the right path, things can change pretty quickly. I mean, it seems like a lot longer than it was, but in the big scheme of it, it hasn't taken you that long to completely turn your life into a point where, like, the life you live now is nothing. Is it fair to say the life that you live now is nothing as to what it was 10 years ago?
Oh, yeah, not at all. I would have never dreamed.
Like, you're not that person whatsoever.
No, not even close. Like, and a lot of people, like, that know me, that even meet myself and my partner now, like, are like
shocked.
They couldn't even believe it. Like, and even my parents will tell you, like, now it's obviously like they've now seen the drastic change, but like they never thought I was going to make a change. It was just that bad. So like, I firmly believe that if I can do it, anyone can do it. Like I'm telling you, like just never would have dreamed that I'd be able to have the life that I have now. And it's even some days I'm like, I mean, I'll get emotional just because I'm so grateful, because sometimes I just can't even believe it as things happen,
So I think for anyone out there that, is struggling, just try to do the right thing today. Try and make a better choice today. Step into a CrossFit affiliate. Try a class.
Yeah.
What would you recommend for someone that is struggling today?
Yeah, it's definitely a one day at a time. Putting one foot in front of the other and making the right choices. Definitely any type of physical exercise, especially CrossFit, is going to definitely help feed that addiction. But if you can just start doing anything that gives you those good endorphins that aren't, obviously drug related or anything in those forms, it'll start to build some rapport in your system that you can work off of, if that makes sense.
I think that's solid advice. And, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing part of that story. And, hopefully this even helps one person. And if that does, then this was a success.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I hope it does help at least one person, because that's what I always hope for, that my mistakes can, stop someone from making.
We've all made plenty of them, so you're not alone. If that's. But thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. I appreciate it. Yeah.